Welcome back to Miles Off It. We got Leeds United today.
Hey, Wood, let me hold that beat.
Finished 17th in the Premier League. 3 points from the drop with a minus 37 goal difference. Had the third worst in the Premier League. Gave up 79 goals, which was the second worst. And scored 42, which was better than only two teams. That was Brighton and Hove Albion and our friend Dylan's Wolves in the top 10.
Not just two teams. Only two teams in the top 10.
In the top 10, which is...
Yeah. A couple other teams too, but two teams in the top 10.
Two teams in the top 10, though.
Yeah.
John, since you want to talk so bad, tell us about the strengths.
All right. Strengths for Leeds. Obviously, offense. They scored 42 goals. Not terrible. Should have been enough to keep them up. But obviously we're going to get to some weaknesses later. Patrick Bamford, he's got to be back. He's got to be healthy. He's a proven goal scorer. If he has a really, really great year, he's going to be gone. Like, he's not sticking around the Leeds. He's going to get picked up by another team. They also have Dan James, Rodrigo, Joe Gelhardt, Sam Greenwood, and Jack Harrison, the former halfway United States, Man City, NYCFC, Wake Forest product, going out there. Bielsa and Marsch, they're similar in the fact that they want to demand a high work rate. You're going to have a team that's going to work really, really hard to get the ball back. They're going to hustle. There's going to be some downsides with that. We saw that a lot last year. Michael, the downsides of this team are what?
The biggest downside, first of all, losing Rafinha. He was easily the best player last year. Pretty much dragged them over the line to stay promoted in the Premier League. Without a shadow of doubt, their best guy. Also losing Calvin Phillips. Definitely a loss, but I'm not as concerned about it. He only played 20 matches with 18 starts. Missed half the season. He obviously would have been a big help if he was there the entire time, but he wasn't. Mm-hmm. Defensively, as we mentioned before, they were horrible. 79 goals conceded, second. Second to probably Norwich, right? It had to be. I don't know off the top of my head.
Yeah, Norwich was way worse.
Yeah, second,
way worse.
Second to Norwich, who was last. And then the most fouls conceded in the Premier League, 101 yellows, 12.3 fouls per match. And then Melier, their goalkeeper, the most saves per match, 3.9. That means he is absolutely getting peppered back there. He also gave a lot of goals, but made a lot of saves. So we'll see. Maybe that's an option for them as well. But why don't you tell us about the options they have, John?
Yeah. Well, before I do that, let me actually talk about some of these weaknesses as well. I think you mentioned 101 yellow cards. Way too much. Way too many.
So many.
You're putting yourself at a disadvantage every game because you're fouling so much. Melia, yes, getting absolutely just pot-shotted the entire game. I feel bad for the skinny Mark Wahlberg back there. The one thing you did say, losing Calvin Phillips, I know that you're saying you're not as concerned just because he didn't play. Totally get that. But when your biggest weakness is the fact that you can't stop a leak in a boat, like, defense needs to be your concern, they're going to be able to replace Rafinha's goals. I just think they will. Because of how they play, because of some of the guys that they've signed already, that won't be a big issue. I think they're going to be able to replace that. The one thing that they need to really hope and pray for is that a couple of those CDMs that they picked up, which I'm going to talk about in a second, can actually step in and play how Calvin Phillips played 2 years ago. The Calvin Phillips from 2 years ago is the reason why he's in Manchester on the blue side right now. The Calvin Phillips that didn't play or from last year or the defense of Leeds is a fucking abomination. Like, it's bad. It's real bad. So, again, I think that about the weaknesses. Let me jump into where they've bought so far. So, Leeds has been busy.
Very.
A lot of money in, a lot of money out. They've spent $116.21 million in this transfer window. And the only thing that's more crazy is they've sold $117.42 million with just two people. Calvin Phillips heading to Man City, like we mentioned before. Rafinha heading to Barcelona on the right wing. Those are only their two sells. Who they've purchased. Team America is coming to the Premier League, and it's Leeds United. Tyler Adams, CDM from RB Leipzig, he's going to be stepping in. Brennan Aronson, the cam from RB Salzburg, stepping in as well. They also have Rasmus Christensen from Salzburg. So let's just call this what it is. Jesse Marsch wants some of those Red Bull people in
Big Red Bull guy.
The team. He's very familiar with them. He's very familiar with the whole process. That's how they're going to play. Mark Roca, CDM from Bayern. He's coming in as well. Luis Sinistera from Feyenoord. He is a left winger. And then Darko Giabi, a center mid from the Man City Academy. I think he's going to be a pretty good pickup. He's very young. For me, and I'm going to pass it over to you here in a second, but for me, as much as we're American, as much as we want to root for these American players, their biggest signing in this, hands down, is Mark Roca. I think if he has the impact that Bayern saw him so that they signed him, if he can play at somewhat of that level, this team's going to have a little bit better season than they did last year at the very least. I
can tell you, Bayern fans not super happy that Mark Roca's gone.
No, he's a great player. He's a good player. I think he was at, I'm going to totally fuck myself by going out on a limb here, pretty sure he was at Sevilla for a couple of years as well.
Well, you're a really Sevilla guy.
There. I know, but I'm actually not 100% sure that he was. It may have been me signing him on
as your own.
Which there's always that chance that I'm fucking that up. But
that's
go
true.
Ahead.
So Roca, obviously, Bayern, big club. That's comes with like a lot of pressure too. I think him and Adams will be great. Kind of that double pivot CM maybe, or maybe just both playing the defensive position when they play big teams. Aronson, hopefully he gets off to a hot start there as well. I think, yeah, absolutely. I think sneaky Luis Sinistera. If Jack Harrison stays on the left wing, okay, and I'm deep in the football YouTube. I love watching James Lawrence Alcott. I think he's like really good breaking stuff down. He says something about Jack Harrison potentially being a left back. That could be really good because Junior Firpo is not good enough for them.
Yeah,
and Stuart Dallas is good there too. But if Jack Harrison could be, as he mentioned in a video, an Angelino type player, that'd be really good for them. But if Harrison plays on the left wing, Dan James I don't think is good enough. And then they have some young guys. They have, I think it's Helder Costa, who returned from loan, and then Somerville and Poveda. I think if Sinistera can move to that right wing, and they can have Harrison, Bamford, and Sinistera up there, I think that's a really good front three. And then you have Gelhardt, who can play the striker position. It's going to matter a lot that front four, Aronson, Bamford, Sinistera, Harrison maybe, how they all mesh together, and then you're just hoping Roca and Adams just hold it down in the midfield and the defense plays well. I think they need a center back, but we'll get to that in a second.
Yeah, I mean, I agree. You briefly mentioned at the beginning, if you're able to play Adams off of a CDM, like Roca can be the main CDM, and then you can play him off of it, he does have some defensive tendencies. He's a really, really good CDM for Leipzig. Jesus, my brain just went out for Leipzig last year.
Yeah.
If you can have some additional support in that midfield, because I know that they're kind of papering over, I think they have big holes in the back. Again, we're going to talk about that. But now that you've kind of solidified that center of the field and that midfield to be like, all right, we're actually going to be able to win the ball back sometimes. It's not always going to be a foul. We're going to be able to get the ball back. That's huge for them. And again, they're going to score. Both of these styles of play, the Bielsa style of play and the Marsch style of play, they're gonna apply pressure. They're gonna score goals. They're gonna go out and try to attack. I guess I'm not as worried about that. But with our breakdown of who they bought already, Michael, let's jump into who you think they're gonna buy and who you think they should buy.
All right, so they've already bought attackers. They bought midfielders. They bought a right back. They bought everywhere except for the one place I think they need somebody solid, somebody to solidify their back line. And I'm going to go to I've been playing a little bit of favorites here these first couple episodes, but I'm going to go to my favorite Italian team, Fiorentina, for Igor, left-sided center back. He defended a fair amount. They were a pretty offensive team. A lot of the times they tried to play with the big teams. They won some big games against the big teams and also got beat by some probably teams they shouldn't have got beat by playing that way.
Serie A. Yep.
Yeah, but he defended a fair amount for Fiorentina. He has good on the ball skills. He can pass, and that's how the Premier League is moving. It's moving to center backs who can play, who can pass the ball, who can play on the ball. He's that type of guy. I think he'd fit in really, really, really well with what they got going on there.
I agree. I agree they need a center back. We were both talking about this. We both kind of went to the well and tried to figure out a center back. Do they have the money to get this person? Yes. Will they get him? No. Everyone who needs a center back should be going after Jules Koundé, the center back for Sevilla. He's amazing. If you can get him, get him. I think he's the best center back on the market who's still young, who's going to develop more and be really, really good. Who I have them going after is Levi Colwill. He's on the books at Chelsea. Chelsea loaned him out last year to Hud. He played really, really well. Chelsea also probably looking for some center back help, but
Jules Koundé.
Probably. If you know how Chelsea operates, it's like, all right, we sent you on loan to a lower-sided club, and you did really well. Now let's send you on loan to a bigger club. And I feel like Leeds could get him. Like, get him on loan. You don't have to buy him. Get him on loan.
Yeah, I mean,
pay less money for him, and then he'll step in and be able to do a job for you. He started 26 games for Hud and was super important to them almost getting promotion.
And you know Chelsea will do that because they did it with Gallagher with Crystal Palace.
Yeah.
So they maybe thought they had something there. They weren't sure, and they weren't afraid to send him to Crystal Palace and say, "Hey, you can't play 2 games in the Premier League against us." That was it.
Yep.
And he's not going to play for them right now. They got Koulibaly. They got the center backs that they have, Silva. He's not going to play for them. So why not get him some Premier League games and send him to Leeds? Definitely, I like that. I'm always, just because of FIFA and everything else, I'm always a little shy on loan moves just because I'm like, why get him for a year? But
nah, FM Football Manager, you gotta loan. You gotta loan him in, especially when you're a club like. I have to assume, yes, they've spent money. They're coming out on the positive end. I mean, they're 1.2 million positive right now.
Yeah.
But I think that they don't need to really splash the cash back there. I think that they can actually do like 1 or 2 moves in the back that will make them better than last year. And that's the name of the game. The name of the game is, are you better than you were last year? Right now, maybe, yeah. I think they are 1 or 2 moves away from being able to say, yes, for sure we are better.
Oh, I'm just going to say, I'm optimistic that they will be better, but this could also, this is a house of cards.
I mean, it always is.
For sure, though. This is like, I mean, these guys could all not be who we think they're going to be, and
we could get Danny Green on them. They could not be who we thought they were going to be. So with that said, Michael, where do you think they're going to finish?
As everyone knows, I do a 3-place range here. I got them.
Drives me insane.
I got them 14th to 16th as of right now.
Yep.
So definitely better than they did last year. And I think if they get a center back, I think they could only go up. So
I am pretty certain that I picked 17th for one of the 3 episodes we did before this. If that's the case, then let me readjust and say 16. They're 17th in my book. I think they're right ahead of the drop. Again, we're making these predictions a little bit early. There's going to be some moves that are made after these episodes come out. Totally fine. But I still think that there are teams in the Premier League that are just better than them. Do I want them to be successful? Yeah, we're American. We need those players to play well. I hope they do really well.
True.
But I think that they're right ahead of the drop right now. Solidify that back and have those 2 CDMs that you picked up actually play up to their potential and their talent. Then we're talking about 15.
14.
Maybe.
14, 13.
12, 11, 10.
Get Bamford back for the whole year. That's a huge difference right there.
If you got Bamford going ballistic on the bunnies, then maybe you're up a little bit higher.
All right, let's end this episode.
Perfect. That's Leeds. That's how we think of Leeds. That's what we're thinking about Leeds. Like, subscribe, leave us some messages. Let us know what you think. Hit the bell icon, mobile notifications, and then we'll see you next time.
Do the whole shit.
Do all of it.
Hey, Bullet, let me hold that beat.